And how did Lady Brandon describe this wonderful young man? I know she goes in for giving a rapid précis of all her guests. I remember her bringing me up to a most truculent and red-faced old gentleman covered all over with orders and ribbons and hissing into my ear in a tragic whisper which must have been perfectly audible to everybody in the room. Something like Sir Humpty Dumpty nor Afghan frontier Russian intrigues. Very successful manwife, killed by an elephant, quite inconsolable, wants to marry a beautiful American widow. Everybody does nowadays, hates Mr. Gladstone, but very much interested in beetles. Ask him what he thinks of Shuvalov. I simply fled. I like to find out people for myself. But poor Lady Brandon treats her guests exactly as an auctioneer treats his goods. She either explains them entirely away or tells one everything about them except what one wants to know. But what did she say about Mr. Dorian Gray? Oh, she murmured, charming boy, poor dear mother and I quite inseparably engaged to be married to the same Manet, mean married on the same day, how very silly of me. Quite forget what he does, afraid he doesn't do anything. Oh, yes, plays the piano, or is it the violin, dear Mr. Gray. We could neither of us help laughing, and we became friends at once. Laughter is not a bad beginning for a friendship, and it is the best ending for one, said Lord Henry, plucking another daisy. Hallward buried his face in his hands. You don't understand what friendship is, Harry, he murmured, or what enmity is, for that matter. You like everyone. That is to say, you are indifferent to everyone. How horribly unjust of you, cried Lord Henry, tilting his hat back, and looking up at the little clouds that were drifting across the hollowed turquoise of the summer sky like ravelled skeins of glossy white silk. Yes, horribly unjust of you. I make a great difference between people. One, choose my friends for their good looks, my acquaintances for their characters, and my enemies for their brains. A man can't be too careful in the choice of his enemies. I have not got one who is a fool. They are all men of some intellectual power, and consequently, they all appreciate me. Is that very vain of me? I think it is rather vain. I should think it was, Harry, but according to your category I must be merely an acquaintance. My dear old Basil, you are much more than an acquaintance, and much less than a friend, a sort of brother, I suppose. Oh, brothers, I don't care for brothers. My elder brother won't die, and my younger brothers seem never to do anything else. Harry, my dear fellow, I am not quite serious, but I can't help detesting my relations. I suppose it comes from the fact that we can stand other people having the same faults as ourselves. I quite sympathize with the rage of the English democracy against what they call the vices of the upper classes. They feel that drunkenness, stupidity, and immorality should be their own special property, and that if any one of us makes an ass of himself, he is poaching on their preserves. When poor Southwark got into the divorce court, their indignation was quite magnificent. And yet I don't suppose that 10% of the lower orders live correctly. I don't agree with a single word that you have said, and what is more, Harry, I don't believe you do either, Harry. Lord Henry stroked his pointed brown beard and tapped the toe of his patterned leather boot with a tasselled malacca cane. "How English you are, Basil. If one puts forward an idea to a real Englishman, always a rash thing to do, he never dreams of considering whether the idea is right or wrong. The only thing he considers of any importance is whether one believes it oneself. Now, the value of an idea has nothing whatsoever to do with the sincerity of the man who expresses it. Indeed, the probabilities are that the more insincere the man is, the more purely intellectual will the idea be, as in that case it will not be coloured by either his wants, his desires, or his prejudices. However, I don't propose to discuss politics, sociology, or metaphysics with you. I like persons better than principles. Tell me more about Dorian Gray. How often do you see him? Every day. I couldn't be happy if I didn't see him every day. Of course, sometimes it is only for a few minutes. But a few minutes with somebody one worships mean a great deal, but you don't really worship him. I do. How extraordinary. I thought you would never care for anything but your painting, your art, I should say. Art sounds better, doesn't it? He is all my art to me now. I sometimes think, Harry, that there are only two eras of any importance in the history of the world. The first is the appearance of a new medium for art, and the second is the appearance of a new personality for art also. What the invention of oil painting was to the Venetians, the face of Antinous was to late Greek sculpture, and the face of Dorian Gray will some day be to me. It is not merely that I paint from him, draw from him. Of course I have done all that. He has stood as Paris in dainty armour, and as Adonis with huntsman's cloak and polished boar spear, crowned with heavy lotus blossoms. He has sat on the prow of Adrian's barge, looking into the green, turbid Nile. He has leaned over the still pool of some Greek woodland, and seen in the water's silent silver the wonder of his own beauty. But he is much more to me than that. I won't tell you that I am dissatisfied with what I have done of him, or that his beauty is such that art cannot express it. There is nothing that art cannot express, and I know that the work I have done since I met Dorian Gray is good work, is the best work of my life. But in some curious wonder will you understand me? His personality has suggested to me an entirely new manner in art, an entirely new mode of style. I see things differently. I think of them differently. I can now recreate life in a way that was hidden from me before. A dream of form in days of thought. Who is it who says that? I forget, but it is what Dorian Gray has been to me, the merely visible presence of this lad, for he seems to me little more than a lad, though he is really over 20, his merely visible presence, I wonder, can you realize all that means? Unconsciously, he defines for me the lines of a fresh school, a school that is to have in itself all the passion of the romantic spirit, all the perfection of the spirit that is Greek, the harmony of soul and body, how much that is. We in our madness have separated the two, and have invented a realism that is bestial, an ideality that is void. Harry, Harry, if you only knew what Dorian Gray is to me. You remember that landscape of mine, for which Agnew offered me such a huge price, but which I would not part with. It is one of the best things I have ever done, and why is it so? Because, while I was painting it, Dorian Gray sat beside me. Basil, this is quite wonderful. I must see Dorian Gray.